Hello, welcome to a new episode of the Concert Junkies. I'm John,
I'm Rob.
and today we are going to do a request video. We got a request from Kim Gormley asking us to talk about our favorite bands from the 80s, like Bon Jovi and Cinderella and stuff like that. So our video today is going to be about 80s bands. So I'll start because Rob's not. I pretty much grew up on 80s music and I still love it today. My favorites, definitely Poison, Def Leppard, Warrant, Skid Row, Cinderella, Bon Jovi, so many of them. Then like my B levels, like Slaughter, LA Guns, I think that's where I'm at right now. Like I kind of like White Lion. Extreme is okay. Cinderella's up there, one of my favorites too. If I didn't mention that before. Yeah, I've seen Warrant in concert a couple times. First time was at the Birch Hill, the famous Birch Hill, back in the late '90s. That was when I think that was the time when Janie Lane was the only original member left in the band, and everybody else left on him. Then I saw them again. There was this little place here in New Jersey called the Trade Winds, and I saw them. To see Warrant still with the original lineup and the new singer, and they have put out new albums since Janie Lane last recorded with them. The new albums are definitely they rock. Addition to it, if you want to say that. Also, if you haven't seen Poison live, Poison is an amazing live band. Have the original lineup, and I think CC DeVille is an underrated guitar player just from watching them live.
I don't think so.
You don't think he's underrated?
No, I don't think he's underrated.
Why would you say that?
Because I don't think he's underrated.
Why?
I really don't.
When people talk about guitar players that are like the best guitar players, do they ever mention him?
Not really.
Then he's underrated.
You normally like the underdog, though.
What?
So you normally like the underdog, though.
He's a great guitar player, and nobody ever mentions him as being like one of the top guitar players. Therefore, he's underrated.
Alright, I'm stand corrected on that one.
You never hear anybody mention CC DeVille as being one of the greatest guitar players of all time, but he is an amazing guitar player. And seeing them live, and they're actually a really great live band, Poison, if you haven't seen them live. I think I've seen them probably like 5-6 times already, and each time it's a great show. And they play a lot of their greatest hits from, back in the 80s. A couple new songs thrown in here and there, a couple covers, but great show. And same with Def Leppard. And even though they still have new music coming out too.
That's a hell of a show anytime to see them.
Their last tour was to support their newest album, the self-titled album, Def Leppard. And that has that classic Def Leppard sound to it once again. They kind of slacked off during Slang and X, though, I thought, when they kind of tried to be poppy. And the whole thing was just boring and just wasn't Def Leppard. It's funny, though, because they actually started in the 70s as a hard rock band. They were like a hard rock band. Then you get to Pyromania, and you get like the bridge. Pyromania is like their bridge between Hysteria and their first two albums, On Through the Night. And, can't remember the other one offhand. There was two, On Through the Night, and there was one other one.
Yeah.
Those first two albums and Hysteria, Pyromania is like the bridge. You can hear from both sides of that, and then Hysteria is where they really took off. I've seen Def Leppard a few times too in concert, and they're an amazing live band also, and they play their new stuff also. They played a couple new songs from their new album last time we saw them, and the songs were awesome. Sound like Def Leppard songs. One band I really want to see that I haven't seen yet is Cinderella. I know Tom Kiefer had throat problems for a while, but he's back out. I know he's touring solo. Hopefully they get the Cinderella band back together and come around so we can see Cinderella.
That would be good.
Another band I like from that era is Dakin. Dakin's coming around too.
Starland, I believe, had I'm thinking March 6th or March 3rd.
Somewhere in there.
March 6th or March 3rd, they're coming around.
I may have seen Dakin before as an opener for one of these shows. Actually, I think I did. It's a long time ago.
They're pretty good.
They did They did a couple of songs that were in the soundtrack for Nightmare on Elm Street Part 3. Most notably, Dream Warriors. They also do. Why am I drawing a blank all of a sudden now? My mind just froze.
I have no idea. I'm more 90s than 80s. So I can't help you with that one.
Damn it, my mind just froze up. Breaking the Chains. That's the song I was thinking of. Breaking the Chain. Good song by Dakin.
A Lonely Night, or is it a Lonely something like Dakin Lonely?
Alone Again.
Alone Again.
Alone Again.
Just heard that this morning, actually.
Skid Row's a band I've never seen live either. I've seen Sebastian Bach live solo a few times, and he was really good.
I beg to differ on that one.
I've never seen. I don't think I've seen. Actually, I've seen part of Skid Row, but it was at a food truck festival. We're kind of in the food truck part, and we heard the band playing off to the side. Sounded right. They have a different singer now, so I'm hoping they sound a little better.
They were. I just saw them last year. They were actually really good.
Yeah, Skid Row's got new music out also since the Sebastian Bach days. I think his last album with the band was Subhuman Race. And then they broke up and they got a new singer. They've only put out a couple albums since then. I know they did a remake of I'll Remember You with the new singer.
It was really good, actually. It's like one of my favorite songs by them.
Yeah, there's so many good 80s bands coming around to the area now. I was kind of excited for this year. Along with Skid Row, there's also Whitesnake with the song Here I Go Again.
Yeah, well, Warren, Whitesnake.
I've never seen Whitesnake live, so this will be a first for me too.
Yeah, I haven't seen either, actually. I don't think I have.
Seen Bon Jovi live a couple times, and he was really good, really good live. One time with Richie in the band, one time without Richie in the band. I think it was better with Richie, because the original members are always better. But each time they sounded good. And of course that's when Guns N' Roses got their start too in the late 80s. And I got to see the original Guns N' Roses just a few summers ago.
Except for the original drummer.
And rhythm guitar player. And keyboardist. The only original members were Slash, Duff, and Axl.
Okay, because what the hell's his name? Steve something.
Steven Adler wasn't there.
No, he wasn't.
They didn't even get Matt Sorum, who was their second drummer. Dizzy Reed, who did keyboards, wasn't there. And Izzy Stradlin, who was their rhythm guitar player, wasn't there. So it's just Slash, Duff, and Axl. It was still amazing. They played for like 2.5 hours, almost 3 hours.
It was just them by themselves?
They had an opener. I don't know what the opener was.
Oh.
That was another great show. Yeah, I think one of my go-tos would probably be Def Leppard as my top 80s band. Usually seems to be what I go to the most when I'm listening to my 80s music. I just throw on a Def Leppard CD. I like Hysteria and Adrenalize are my two favorites. I kind of lean more towards Adrenalize because that was not as played out. So there's more. I like all the songs on both albums, but I like more Adrenalize stuff better. Just due to the fact that it's not always overplayed, and I don't hear the songs that often, so it's kind of refreshing for me when I hear that. And I would just kind of fall back into Def Leppard or Poison mostly. from that time period?
From that time period, I would probably have to say Guns N' Roses. Didn't realize this till the other day that Chili Peppers came out in the 80s. Like, there's a few bands I didn't realize came out in the 80s. So if I had to go through a catalog or whatever, it would be Guns N' Roses and Chili Peppers most likely, and REM.
The REM was good with Losing My Religion and
Happy Shiny People.
Shiny Happy People.
We Didn't Start the Fire, I believe.
That's Billy Joel.
No, they did a song too.
It's the End of the World, and I know it.
There you go. Couldn't think of the name of it. I knew it was towards that.
You name a Chili Pepper song from the 80s that was popular and famous.
Well, I was born in '83, so it's going to take me a minute to think about that.
Chili Peppers became big in the 90s. Once Under the Bridge came out, they got huge.
They did a funk album, so I can't think of any names of any of the songs, but in the 80s they were more funk.
They've always been funk. Flea's got that funk kind of bass sound.
Well, they did a record with George Clinton. That's when they first started, and it was in the 80s. I don't have that record for some reason.
They started in the 80s. They weren't really. They got more known as the 90s came about, though. That's when they kind of hit mainstream. I'm not offending, no offense to Red Hot Chili Peppers fans, but the band didn't really become huge mainstream until Under the Bridge came out from Blood Sugar Sex Magic. That album that was out like I think 92. And that album kind of just put them over the top and made them huge.
But most bands, what do you call it, that are some 70s didn't hit it to the 80s. They made them over the top.
Like Van Halen's one of them.
Van Halen's one of them.
Scorpions are big in both decades. Actually, I forgot the Scorpions. They were big in both decades. Scorpions kind of changed their sound in the 80s, too. They were hard rocking bands in the 70s, and they kind of changed like that 80s sound in the 80s. They're popular in both decades. AC/DC's popular in both decades, more so in the 70s. See, after Back in Black came out, they kind of didn't have the same success they did as they were building up to Back in Black. They were still popular, but Back in Black was like their pinnacle.
Then you have Aerosmith, that was in both decades.
They were bigger in the 70s and didn't really hit it big until the late 80s, very early 90s.
Well, still 80s, still hit the 80s.
They're a 70s band, though. They'll still be a 70s band to me.
Alice Cooper's
70s. And he did his 80s stuff. A lot of bands were big in the 70s, kind of changed their sound in the 80s to kind of like fit into the 80s genre. Don't forget, all those bands were huge, though, because they had MTV back then. And back then, MTV only played music videos. Hence the channel, Music Television.
Right. Well, that totally changed now.
Yeah, now you don't have music television, you have a shitty television. And you don't get music videos anymore. Unless you go on YouTube. Used to be you can turn MTV any time of day, any time of night, and you would see music videos, and they had a lot of the 80s metal, hard rock bands in constant rotation being played, constantly being requested. Like Motley Crue is another one. Motley Crue is another great band from the 80s. Not so good live, but recording-wise, they were really good. So you can kind of tune into MTV whenever you wanted to, and you get a lot of the 80s bands playing there, and that's how they became big. Like Warren got big from Cherry Pie from the video. And Whitesnake, the girl in the video on Dancing on the Cars.
Yeah.
That's kind of how these bands became huge, because of their music videos, which you don't get anymore.
Then you just go on YouTube and watch them from there. There's not really any music videos out anymore.
So I hope that answers your question, Kim, about favorite 80s bands that we were fans of. There's so many of them, it's hard to pick for me because I like so much of them. But like I said, I think my top 2 favorites are Def Leppard and Poison. That's kind of the 2 I lean to the most.
I'm gonna stand by Guns N' Roses. That's like major from the 80s that I listened to a lot.
And just before we wrap up this show, just don't forget we still have the contest going on for the Metallica So Fired to Self-Destruct CD. Still in the wrapper. Just name your favorite Metallica song of all time and tell us why. And we'll have a random winner that we're going to pick, and we're going to give it out sometime after December 6th. So keep the answers coming in. Keep answering the questions, and we will see you next time. Thank you for watching.
Thank you. Have a great night.